Spotify has become a nightmare for everyone involved, from large artists to small artists to Spotify itself, and I'm going to break down exactly why. So I think the most important thing for everyone to then understand the rest of the concepts in this video, is how Spotify pays their artists for having music on their platform. So Spotify takes all of the money that they get from premium subscribers, not from ads, only from premium subscribers. They take all of that money and it goes into a pool or a pot. Then they take all of the streams from all artists and they take all of those and put those into a pool or a pot. The percentage of those streams in that pot that are the artists, they get that percentage of the money pot from premium subscribers. Which, at first, that sounds like a pretty fair system. But the problem with that is that it's not exactly very lucrative for Spotify. So, it seems like having a premium subscription to Spotify is a pretty, unbelievable deal for you. You only pay $9 a month for your whole family to have access to all the music ever made. They've sold you that this is profitable for them, but it never was, and it never will be. One change Spotify has made recently is that any artist that gets less than 1,000 streams in a pay period, which is monthly, they don't get any of the money in the pot, which you think would help drive the value of streams up. It seems helpful, but nobody's really seen that help them make money from smaller artists. Like myself, I'm a very small artist, but I get over 1,000 streams a month, so I still get paid from Spotify. Also, there is conspiracy that when Spotify was first created, they likely made deals with major labels and stuff that they would get a larger slice of the pie than they actually get, which is most likely true, but there's no way for us to prove this. There's no way for us to see any of Spotify's actual bookkeeping, so there's no way for any of us to know how much money they're actually paying people. What if there was a way for Spotify to actually make money from their own platform? Well, there is. And the way that you could do that is own music. But making music takes work and is very difficult. What if it didn't take work? What if you had the AI create the music for you? That would only take a couple of minutes to make a song, so you could pump out as many songs as you want to. Also, what if the streams on those songs weren't real? What does that do? That devalues the streams, because that percentage of the money goes to those streams. So what if you made music with AI, which takes no work, and then you had AI bots? What if you had bots listen to your AI music? Then that would just devalue all of the music. Also, if Spotify owns all this AI music and owns all the streams, guess what? They're getting 30% of their money back from, 30% of the premium subscribers' money. They're getting that put in their pocket. But they're just sacrificing all the other artists their money. Now, there is no proof that Spotify is doing this, but I did some deep diving into all of these artists that are just first name, last name. All of these songs sound the same and are on Spotify curated playlists. All these artists, not all these artists, but I went through a few of these artists and just tried to search and figure out if these were real people, and I cannot find anything about them being real people. Just search them on Google, search them on different platforms, search them any way I could, search for their credits and other people's work. Nothing. They don't exist. I'm 100% convinced that these are AI generated songs. Am I also 100% convinced that Spotify made these songs? There's no other way it could be, unless they have a third party making the songs, but they also get a percentage. But Spotify's also getting a percentage of these because Spotify is curating the playlists. Spotify's making the playlists. These are artists that have only started posting music like this year or the year before, and they're already on big Spotify curated playlists. By the way, Spotify pitches that putting your music on their platform gives you this great opportunity to get found, and when you pitch your songs to playlists, their curators might put you on this big Spotify playlist. By the way, I've pitched tons of songs to Spotify, never been put on a playlist. And that's most people. You find out, most artists that end up getting on playlists are already big artists. Shocker, isn't it? So how are these brand new artists that are just creating very simple instrumentals that all sound the same are getting found by Spotify and getting put on these massive playlists? Also, who's listening to these playlists? So, all they have to do is bot farm. These bot farm their own music, and they can get almost all of their money back and take away money from all of us artists. Yeehaw. Or at the very least, make these playlists, bot farm a little bit, make them look popular, push them to all of their users, and then yeehaw, you have real people listening to it now, but you're still devaluing real music with all of this AI music. Another reason that Spotify has become an absolute nightmare for us artists to work with is, again, AI. Shocker. This time, not necessarily Spotify's fault. This is a problem that has been a problem for a little bit that Spotify has put things in place to stop, which is bot streams. Little double entendre there for you. There are still bot playlists out there. And if your song gets put on a bot playlist that you didn't pay for, or you had nothing to do, a computer put you on that playlist, and you start getting streams from bots. Well, guess what Spotify's going to do? Take your music down. And I've found that this has happened to hundreds of artists, especially small artists that don't get a lot of play. A few months ago, one of my songs actually ended up on a playlist that I think may have been a bot playlist. There's no way for me to know. I did some research into the playlist, and I did find some evidence that maybe this was a playlist over in like Switzerland or Sweden or something that a cafe chain used in all of their cafes and played in their cafes. So that may have been why I was getting consistent streams from this playlist from only... The reason is I got like 1,000 streams a day. I was getting like 1,000 streams a day, but only from like 60 listeners. So, in case you don't know, usually if you have 60 people that heard your song, not all 60 of them are going to listen to that song 100 times in a day. That's just not going to happen. Or even 10 times in a day in order to make 1,000 streams, right? Like, no one's listening to your song 10 times a day. You might have like 1 or 2 people out of 1,000 people that will listen that many times, so. And I was very afraid when this happened that my music might be taken down from Spotify. And also, if your music is taken down from Spotify, which is the main place where everyone listens to my music, then I get screwed out of more money. I get screwed out of fans. I get screwed out of my own music that I own. And I didn't pay for bots. I wasn't doing anything dirty. Also, Spotify can flag you for using bots, and they can end up taking your artist profile down. So this is a nightmare for artists. Luckily, my song didn't get taken down, but I've heard from many other artists that this has happened to them, and Spotify took their music down. So this was very scary for me. I reported the playlist and said that it seemed suspicious to me. I ended up getting taken off the playlist a couple days later. Ended up not being a problem. But I've heard from other people that they had something similar to this happen. They reported the playlist. They ended up getting taken off the playlist, and then months later down the line had their music taken off, and Spotify saying that playlist was the reason why. So I'm not necessarily out of the clear yet. I'm still kind of afraid of that happening. Now, Spotify isn't going to detect bots necessarily on super large artists because they're already getting so many streams. And 90% of large artists are going to have tons of bots streaming them because they're on every playlist, and so they're on bot playlists too, and this is what happens. Another way that major labels are able to suck all the money they can out of the music industry and take away from us. Again, devaluing our streams with bots. Yes, this is very bad for artists, big and small, because they're devaluing the streams of big artists as well. This is a bad thing for Spotify as well, because people are going to stop using Spotify. I mean, I personally use Tidal right now just because I can listen to my music in a higher quality than I can on Spotify. Spotify makes sure everyone's in the same location if you're in a family plan or whatever. Like, they make sure you actually live together. Tidal doesn't do that. So I share a Tidal account with some of my friends, which is another reason I use Tidal. This is not an ad for Tidal, by the way. Tidal could easily end up going the same route as Spotify in the future, so I'm not necessarily saying Tidal is amazing, but it is right now because it's still pretty small. So yeah, and they pay me better, so I like that. I like them because they pay me better. They're a little more expensive than Spotify, but I can put my friends on it, so it ends up being cheaper anyway, and I can listen in higher quality audio. Overall, it's a way better experience for me. Also, their shuffle is a real shuffle, which I enjoy. Like, Spotify ends up refeeding you songs that you've been listening to more. So when you shuffle your own playlist, they end up just giving you songs that you've been listening to outside of the playlist that are in your playlist, if that makes sense. Spotify uses algorithm in their shuffle, where Tidal does a real shuffle, which I enjoy that more. I like that for my big playlists, actually listening on shuffle. So anyway, I'm done with my little rant. I was really mad about this when I saw the playlists made by Spotify with AI music on them. And we'll see if maybe there's a way that Spotify can detect AI songs and we don't have AI music anymore. That would be great. The problem is that that's nearly impossible because music is in time, and that would probably end up making a way bigger problem anyway, like I was saying with the bot streams, than taking down people's real music too, if they did some algorithm to try to figure out when it's AI music or not, and that would cause a whole nother host of problems. So basically, I think streaming is gonna be dead here very soon. Maybe just in like a year or two. It's hard for me to see how streaming is gonna survive because artists are gonna stop putting their music on streaming platforms, which a lot of artists are already doing, or at least they're just withholding it from them for months on end, so that people will actually buy CDs or buy their music off iTunes, because then you actually have the real song. First of all, I like buying music anyway myself, especially having a CD or a record is way more fun to listen to albums and things like that. There's pros and cons to both, of course, but I think streaming is going to die because people aren't going to be able to get all of the music on there like they were in the beginning. Now, artists aren't going to let their music be put on there because it's not beneficial for them, especially monetarily, and they risk getting their music taken down, and it's becoming a nightmare for everyone. Users, because they're not going to get their artists. Spotify, because they're not going to get their artists. And artists, because they're not getting paid. So, and they're not getting real fans from it. They're getting bots. And like, that's no fun. So, Spotify is going to end up... And the real problem here is hardly even Spotify, although if they're creating the AI music, it is them. But AI in general is becoming a big problem, as we're seeing with different websites, they're just becoming AIs interacting with each other, and that's the whole website, because they, of course, push out way more content than any human could ever produce. And like Quora is like not even a real website anymore. It's just AI posts with AI comments, and that's it. Facebook is nearly becoming that now, except you can condense it to your real friends, so you have a little bit of realness there that's cut off. But like Twitter and Quora and any of these open forums are basically becoming just AIs interacting with each other, and it's getting so overrun that no one wants to use it anymore. And sadly, that's what's going to end up happening with streaming companies. Is it's just going to be bot playlists, AI music, and bots listening to it, and that's going to be it. So you're going to be like, but then there will be no paid users. So that's not going to make the the people who own the AI any money either. So anyway, it's all a big nightmare. Yeehaw. I just wanted to see if anyone has any ideas for how to solve this problem, and screw you, Spotify, if you are making AI music to make some money, because it's gonna just end up being worse for you in the end anyway. It is a bad idea, short-term solution to a problem that's too big for you to handle. So, yeehaw. Goodbye, guys. Sorry it wasn't a very fun or funny video like I usually am, but there you go.